Dale.
Hi, Mom. How are you doing?
I'm sitting in front of. Tell him. Tell her.
Dale.
Hey, how you doing? What are you doing in town?
He's screening me here. Go ahead and tell him what you're
I'm
doing.
just visiting the family, and I'm taking a video of Nanny right now.
With
it's
this,
interesting, that's for sure.
I'm telling him all about where I was born. You know, the whole history of my life.
Oh, I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's all haphazard. I wish I could do it more. You know, it's just popping out in funny little ways. You know,
Well, that's okay. That's a oral history. That's all right.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing here with this great big equipment all around me. So that's what we're doing.
Well,
So
I don't want to interrupt the creative process there, so
yeah.
I'll give you a call tomorrow. You take
All
care.
right. Okay, love bug. Love ya.
Love you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
honey. When I was 9 or 10, I started to sell candy all over the neighborhoods. I guess it was something for our church or something. Anyhow, I always wanted to sell the most boxes of candy. I always liked to try and make some money off of anybody that would give me money. You know, well, would you like this done? Well, I'll do this, I'll do that. Gardening, you name it. I like to do all kinds of things. Anything that anybody would give me some money, I would walk all the neighborhoods and sell this candy. It was, in those days, it was 20 cents or 25 cents an Easter egg wrapped up in cellophane, but it was real good candy. And I'd get people to buy it. I'd smile and I'd knock on their door and say, oh, you would just love this candy. It's so good. And I sold more candy. I just loved. So I had salesmanship in me and didn't even know it. Wiener dogs? I'd never liked a wiener dog. Well, make a long story short, we ended up with a wiener dog, and we got a dog named Freddy. Fred. I just remember in kindergarten drawing, I used to like to draw, and I loved to draw big red apples with a green stem on them. And I used to like to play on the jungle gym. I was very, it was in the back part of the kindergarten room, and I used to love to hang upside down like a monkey. And then we had jungle gyms at the base of our street on Shield Street, and the base of our street was a playground for the public. And they had lots of swings and a jungle gym, and they had a swimming pool, and I used to spend every day in that swimming pool from the time the first drop of water went into the pool, and I'd sit there, stand outside the gate and wait the whole hour while the pool was filling until it was full enough that they would let me go get in. And I lived all my life in that swimming pool. I just loved swimming. I swam every single day. Then that property was owned by the VA, and the VA took it over, and it went from flat land at the bottom of Shield Street with this big playground, and they converted that into where they built the VA, and they built this huge VA hospital, huge. And it went up the hill, and that's where the goats were, up by Kettering Laboratory. And Kettering Laboratory, I don't know what Kettering means, but it's still there across the street from where my house was on 120 Shield Street. I lived there from when I was born. My brother was 4 years old, and I was just born. And I lived there till 13. I am kind of a little bit of a clown. I used to like to be a clown and wear my glasses upside down let my ears hold my glasses on upside down on my face to be the class clown when I was little. Oh God, there's so much to say about my life and how we ended up down here. Well, I guess Pop Hobbs always wanted to live in Florida, and so did I. So then Pop and I, one Sunday, it was Mother's Day, and I looked over at Pop sitting with his mother and father, Ida and John Asbury Hobbs, who was his father. He was a good-looking man. And I looked over and I remember saying to myself, I'm going to marry that guy one day. And that's what I said, and I did. Jack Hobbs. But he was 5 years older than me. And I was dating another boy from the church named Jack. He was 5 years older than me. And he proposed to me first. And my brother said, no, he told my dad, don't let Janie marry that Jack Miles. So that's the way that went. There's lots more. Boy, that's a long time to talk about. Almost 80 years. In another couple months, it'll be 80 years. Boy, I don't know. I never realized how special the one was, but when my parents took 3 weeks off, my father was a printer at that time, and he had bought this DeSoto. It was a turquoise color, about the same color as my couch that I have right here on Marshfield. It was a turquoise car, DeSoto, and it had woolly fabric. And it was so daggone hot. Well, we decided to go out west. Dad had 3 weeks away from the printing company. And I was little. I was like maybe 7, 8, 9 years old, something like that. I was still very young, and my brother 4 years older than me. So he remembered it better than I did. We saw everything out west. We saw the Grand Canyon. Never got to go down on the burro. I always wanted to do that. That intrigued me. I just thought that would be such fun, and I was a daredevil. I would have loved to have done that. So we went out west, and we saw the Painted Desert. I think it was called the Painted Desert. We saw everything out west, and I remember that was such a beautiful vacation because it was all new to visit and to see. But then we went to visit somebody who lived behind, it was called the Hollywood Movie Theater in Hollywood. And we stayed till after midnight. And this was a relative, and I don't remember if it was on my mother's side or my father's side. And we got ready to leave at midnight, and we walked out the front door, and the cold air hit my father, and we thought he died. He fell forward and landed over my mother's arm, and she caught him. And we had to go straight back to Cincinnati after that. So that was the end of the vacationing. But up to that time, we had fun, and Mom had to drive that all the way back home. So, but it was fun. The trip was great, and it was so hot, and the windows would only open 3/4 of the way. No, they would be closed 3/4 of the way, and you only got 1/4 of fresh air in. And my brother had all these decals all over the car. That was his thing, to put decals on the car. And when we came back, there was no way to see out of the windows. Isn't that funny that I remember that? Yeah. And then we ended up sitting in Yellowstone National Park over a hot tub. They were, what do you call them, springs?
Hot spring.
Well, we went out, and it was 104 temperature. And we ended up sitting on a log, and we were there all day long. We had to wait for someone, and it was of course we had, my mother, that's probably where I get that from. Oh, let's go see that one over there. Well, no one ever came out to see that one because it was way off it was where no one looked. So no one came out there, and we're stuck out there. And I think one of us had to go in on the slats that you walk on and find a car and say, please let the forestry know that this family, their car is sitting on top of a geyser. That's what it was. And the geyser was boiling. I mean, the car, the DeSoto, the turquoise DeSoto, was sitting out there from early morning. We got out there real early because we wanted to do it while it was cool. And we were out there till 5:30, 6 o'clock. And they finally towed us back in a tow truck. And we were like burned crisp. There weren't many trees around there. And, oh, God, that was awful to get that car off of that geyser. Oh, and everybody, well, once we said, they said, well, where are you at? Because we went over to where there was more people. Well, that's us out there sitting on top of a geyser. What jackass would want to sit on top of a geyser? And I was so insulted that they were saying he was cuckoo or a jackass to put his car. What idiot would want to put his car over a geyser? And there we sat all day long. No food, no water. I remember, oh God, I do remember that so well. So anyhow, we finally got out of that, but we saw everything out there. And that was neat to experience all those things. And they took us to Montreal and Quebec, and we literally went to see the whole USA. And we started to go into New Mexico after we went to Hollywood to visit those relatives. And I remember someone was growing apricots, one of our relatives that lived in a very poor little house, and they lived out in California. And we went to see them, and they had all these dried apricots. That's all I remember. They sold them somewhere. And after that, we headed into New Mexico, and Mom said, I can't do this. We've got to go back to Cincinnati. And Daddy wasn't doing real well. He had had a heart attack. And that's, when he fell coming out the door behind the Hollywood movie theater there. So anyhow, a funny thing that in my brain that I remember all that. But we did have a good time, but we had to go back. We just got in the border of New Mexico, and Mother made the decision that we had to go home. It was more than enough for her to handle that. Well, when I was living as a baby on 120 or in 120 Shields house, it was a pretty good sized house, and I lived in the attic. So Grandpa Henry Hubelman came to live with my mother and dad, and I was just a baby then, and he came over, and he used to have a spittoon that he'd spit his tobacco in a rocking chair, and he'd rock me on his rocking chair, but I still smell that smell of tobacco and so forth. And my baby crib sat right at the bottom of his twin double bed, and I can still remember that baby bed. And I can remember taking cod liver oil every morning when my mother would come up the stairs. I can remember, cod, and I was just very little. But I slept in that bedroom with my Grandpa Henry Hubelman. And Henry just loved me, so he was so sweet. And my brother sang at that same church for our wedding. Boy, it's so hard. You'd have to go one by one going through your life when you think of all of it. But my brother sang the Lord's Prayer at our wedding. And in the safe, the Lord's Prayer wasn't there. And our wedding started late because of a terrible snowstorm. And so my brother had to ad-lib the singing. He was a very fine tenor, very, very advanced in music. And he didn't have the way the tenor part, he had to ad-lib, which he did. And that was it. Here comes Dale on the phone.
Here, I'll grab it for you.
You just learned to live your life. I was telling Angelina about that she will be amazed at how her life develops. All 6 of my grandchildren will. It'll be unbelievable how they all develop. And our new little baby on the way, if her name is Lily or Sophie, whatever it becomes, she too will start. It'll be interesting to see how her life develops. So there were lots of good things that happened